you worked with Mark before, but I understand that it was actually sort of his idea for the inspiration of the film kind of came from him. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. He called me up and said, I have an idea that is in the vault of films that may end up becoming Duplass Brothers movies, because of course he's a filmmaker with his brother Jay, the Duplass Brothers. And because this one centered around a guy who had recently lost his brother, they just felt like it was probably a little too close to home for them to be tackling it. But he still thought it was a good idea and wondered if I'd be interested in directing it and he could be starring in it. And the difference was, it was really just the launching point of the film. A guy and a girl who are best friends. He's in a bad place because he's lost his brother recently. She sends him up to the family getaway to kind of get some alone time and get his head together. And there, instead of meeting her sister in his first incarnation, it was her mother. And so there were no sisters involved in the original, your sister.
And was it that he has a relationship with the mother?
Yes, that he would then fall into bed with the mother or something, and then there'd be some kind of a weird love triangle. But I don't know, it felt a little Oedipal or something to me. But also, I really liked the idea of two parallel sibling relationships, because I feel like the fourth character in this film is the dead brother, who you'd never meet, and there's not any flashbacks or anything, but you sort of see him in photographs and just hear about him. But he sort of weighs very heavily on Jack's soul, you know, and informs, because he's lost that brother, it also informs how he interacts with the other two people in the movie, the two sisters, and I really liked the idea that it's really about these two sets of siblings whose lives end up entangling with each other in a really interesting way.
There wasn't much of a script, it was just sort of an outline that you had when you went to film, or how did that process?
No, it was a little more of a script than, we just didn't use it as much as one might usually. So with my previous film, Hump Day, it was just a 10-page outline with no dialogue at all, because I had two veteran improvisers who were totally comfortable with that. And in this case, I had one veteran improviser, but I had two actors who were not used to it. And so just to give them a sense of security, like a little security blanket, I had about 70 pages of dialogue written out. So there was a lot. And they could certainly choose to use lines that they liked, but I asked them to not hold those lines too tightly, you know, try not even to memorize them, but just to look at the scene, let it give them a sense of the rhythm and the content. I mean, the thing is that the beats they needed to actually be able to reveal certain things and sort of get somewhere emotionally, and then the way that they got there was really up to them. And so I encouraged them to just be loose and go off script. And the other component is that the only way to make that work, I think, is if they had a tremendous amount of backstory, so they really know who they are and who they are to each other and what's happened right up to that moment of the scene. And then when somebody says a line to you that you're not expecting, it's like second nature what's going to happen when you open up your mouth, you know, and respond. So it helps enormously. But they were great. I mean, Rose and Emily, who, again, are not veterans at all at this, were so good at it, and really found their way and found their own process for working that way, and it was really exhilarating. How
did you come to cast both of the girls?
Well, Emily was on the top of my list for Iris. I really felt like it was probably a shot in the dark. I just had no idea. It was sort of a long shot. But it turned out that her agent actually is a big fan of Hump Day, and so he thought it was a great idea, which is awesome, because, you know, if you can get an agent to want their movie star client to do a little movie, you're in luck. And she then had a conversation with me, and I described to her what the storyline would be like and her character, and also a description of how we made Hump Day, because I thought it would be a very similar approach. And she surprised me at the end by saying, well, you know, I made this movie once, and I really enjoyed the film, and I enjoyed the experience of making it, and I figured I'd never get a chance to work that way again. And it was her very first film, called My Summer of Love, that was improvised, and I had no idea. I'd seen it, but I had no idea it was improvised, and so it was good timing for her. It was an easy yes, she claims. So that was great. And then Rose actually came in really late. She was our savior, or like, you know, our angel, who came in 3 days before the movie production started, when we lost our original actress, and she was at the top of my replacement list. Like, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be really tough, but if I can get Rosemary DeWitt, I know I can make this movie work. It was really interesting. It was a very gut instinct, And it was work. It was true. It was totally true. And luckily, she was versed in what we do because she had accosted Mark Duplass at an airport. They were both on their way to New Orleans to shoot a film like a year before, and she said, I don't ever do this, but I saw Hump Day and I thought it was great. You were great, and she really loved it, and he talked to her about the process, and so we had a feeling that if she was available that she would be interested, and luckily she was sort of available. She was doing a TV show at the time, and the producers very, very kindly figured out a way for her to, we lost a couple of days off the schedule, went from 14 to 12 days. But they figured out how to make it work, and I'm so, so grateful to them for that, because she just, I mean, yeah, she made the movie possible, but she's so good.
Well, and finally you mentioned Touchy Feely, and so you're already in post. Are you editing that now?
Yeah, we finished shooting about 3 weeks ago, and I decided editing is in my background, and I edited my first couple features, and I really had the urge to just go in and get, go back to that process, get back in touch with that process. So I crazily decided that I'm going to edit this one myself, and
wow, so you're editing the film?
Editing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just got it assembled, so it's like, the very first sort of stage of the editing phase is done, and so I'm going to spend the rest of the summer back in that I have a little monk cell of an office, and I'm just going to be in there cutting away. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent, excellent. Do you know when it might be released?
I'm guessing not before 2013, but hopefully
sometime
early
next year. Great. Well, we look forward to that.